Are you serious? Are you serious? Well, folks, you've come to a great broadcast today. I mean, I'm shocked, but I shouldn't be. Everybody's been worried about what happens when AI technology, when the bots, when the robots start replacing the people. Now, look, we can't freak out and say that that's the end of innovation. We can't, because look, innovation, new technologies, advancements in machinery is all part of the growth of civilization. But this is a tough one. This is hitting right in the bankers and the financial area, and Citibank announcing that 10,000 jobs will probably be phased out by AI bots within 5 years, or if not sooner. And there's some other economic indicators that we're getting today. So we got to get an expert on here, and we've got one. Robert Kudla is with us from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Great guy, great company, Christian, loves the Lord, partner of our ministry, but we need some help understanding. Are things changing? Bob, welcome to the broadcast.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, do we have 6 hours to talk about this? Change is inevitable, and also, and especially, we're talking about a little bit of the end times too. Changes are accelerating, and now that with this technology, a couple things are coming together at one time. And in fact, I always tell people, I said, the world as you know it is ending this year, and I mean that glibly because the whole AI thing is now ready for prime time. I mean, sometimes you can't even tell to a bot or a person sometimes when you're doing some of the phone calls you're doing. That's number one. Number two, we've been talking cryptocurrencies for the past year, and the technology that underlines that is what's called the blockchain, and that's going to eliminate the need for any intermediate type of companies. Well, the banks are in that sweet spot where they can literally be eliminated. And so the bankers are seeing that their most profitable pieces of their business is going to go away.
What?
And they have this AI technology, you have this blockchain technology, and banks are going to be skeletons of themselves. This is why they asked for that the change to the Glass-Steagall Act again, Paul, because the only way they're going to be able to make money is by trading again, and they can't make money banking anymore. And when they're lifting these interest rates up as they're doing, and we'll probably talk about that in a minute. On the one hand, it gives them a bigger what's called a spread, but on the other hand, the market's taking that spread away from them, and then people are in debt up to their eyeballs, so they're not taking on any more debt, and then their assets are being defaulted upon. So the banking system in itself, I always tell people, where's the area to watch? Watch the banking sector. That thing is going to be a shell of itself here in the next 2 years, and that's going to be one of the main reasons why when this market sells off, that's what's going to sell off really, really hard.
Well, Bob,
and it's not just them, Paul. And I'll take a breath in a second, but you and I were talking beforehand. Just today, Tesla out of the blue. They've been telling people everything's great, 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 great. Well, they just announced that they're laying off 9% of their workforce.
Wow. So,
yeah.
I mean, Bob, a couple things here. I mean, interest rates. The Fed's announced they're going to inch it up a little more because they're worried about inflation. And I just found out today that inflation rates is at a 6-year high. So that's all that quantum easing that the Obama administration did for 8 years. I mean, they just poured money into the system. And look, I don't know if they're still cranking those things or not, but I understand the reason to control interest rates, but you can kill the golden goose, as you've said before. But this Citibank, can I ask the question, if the banking industry, it becomes a shell of itself in the next 2 years, all these people, they have mortgages. I mean, the banks have to be careful you're not laying off so many people that the people you lay off can't pay for their mortgage, and that, it's like you're biting the hand that feeds you. The automobile industry used to always worry about this massive layoffs. That's the people who buy their cars. So, I mean, don't they got to walk a tightrope here?
Yeah, I mean it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room that on one hand we have inflation because of prolific governments around the world that can't keep their spending in check, but on the other hand is that the people that buy things don't have the disposable income anymore, and so you have inflation on one hand and you have deflation on the other hand. And you know what that's called, Paul? That's called a depression. People don't realize, people say, oh, the Great Depression costs have to be low. No, no, not necessarily. What it has to be is the things you want to buy are unattainable to you because your income cannot purchase them. So you can have a Great Depression where everything is worth nothing, or you can have a Great Depression like what's going on around the world right now, where you may be making, $100,000 a year, but you're not buying anything with it, and the prices aren't coming down to match the buyer's needs because their cost structures are built into it. So that's what's starting to happen. They call it stagflation, but it's not really stagflation because the wages need to rise in commensurate with the inflation rate. And that's not happening. If the cost of living is far outstripping the wage growth, and it's a problem. And this is why I pull my hair out when I hear people banging on Trump about what he's doing on the trade thing. This is the only thing that we can do. Really? Is basically it's Fortress America. You bring as many jobs home as you can. You cut down trade. You build your what's called an internal pressure cooker on prices so that you could pay for things. This is the reason why it was drill baby drill too, Paul. And America is blessed with the ability to feed themselves within their borders.
Right.
And so, it may get really bad, but it's going to get really, really bad in other parts of the world. And you're already starting to see it. So, you look at Turkey is imploding. Argentina is imploding. Venezuela is imploding. Brazil is imploding. You see the real and the stock market for Brazil straight down.
Yeah.
We're causing issues in Russia with geopolitics. And it's no walk in the park for China either. So what's happening is our Fed is pushing hard on these interest rates. He's driving the dollar higher. Remember, everybody said, Paul, the dollar's going to collapse, because people don't fundamentally understand how economics works and what a reserve currency is. Our dollar is going to get much, much stronger before the whole thing unravels, and that's what's happening. This is in motion, Paul. Things look good on the stock market now. And what you're going to see is when these companies start coming up short on revenue growth is when this whole thing is going to implode for the stock market. And that may be next quarter, but definitely going into the end of the year. They're just not going to be able to generate enough revenue, and they can't get rid of enough people, and their cost structures are too high that it's going to cause the earnings growth to collapse, and that's what's going to cause the stock market to have a pretty nasty tumble.
You talk about this. It's very interesting how that we have an economy where we have low unemployment rate. It's 3.8. It's the lowest in 18 years. Matter of fact, for the first time in I don't know if maybe ever, we got more jobs available than we have people looking. Yet, what people are working. But how much buying power do you have? If, inflation goes up, you have money, but let's say you can't buy anything with it because prices are too high, cost of living is too high, interest rates is going to get inched a little. You got to be careful about the housing bubble could hit. I mean, there's a lot of things. And so when Tesla Motors says they're doing a massive layoff, getting rid of 9% of their people, and Citibank starts talking about 10,000 jobs in the next couple of years. And if it's Citibank, it's all the banks. I mean, this is some big deal stuff. Let me ask you a question. The summit in Singapore last night, does it have any impact on our economy if Kim Jong-un actually does what he says and you let the Americans in there. According to Trump, the Americans and other nations are going to go in there. They're going to help them denuclearize the entire peninsula. Do you see any economic benefits or no, a wash, or what do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, at some point it's going to be a good guy, but how long will that take? And even Ukraine that wanted to get rid of their nukes, it took 2 years. So we have that, and we don't know how the Chinese or the Russians are going to kind of slow this down. And look what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. We did all the heavy lifting, we spent all the money, our boys and gals got killed. And then, the Europeans come in there and the Asians come in there and they take all the contracts. So it's unclear to me whether it is, other than maybe we could pull back some of our defense spending or maneuver our spending to things that are more strategic versus defending a landmass,
Well,
5,000 miles away.
Bob, one thing I did, and now just to jump in for a second, one thing I did hear, President Trump, they went in with an iPad and they showed Kim Jong-un a 5-year plan of hotels, beach resorts, factories, things, and they showed them like a Google map thing. It showed them starting the process of rebuilding a country. And Kim Jong-un was kind of marveled with this. Trump even walked him out and opened the door of his limousine and said, look at this technology, look at the things we have. I think you might see something, I don't know, but Trump's a builder. I mean, if there's one guy that could understand how to rebuild something and would create a massive growth for at least the contractors, is that possible? Instead of the military industrial complex, could we be talking about a Trump tower for real?
Oh, yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you have to realize Kim Jong-un, he was educated in Switzerland.
Right.
He's not like his father and his grandfather who never left the country. This guy grew up in Switzerland. I mean, he has friends today around the world that he keeps in contact with. So, he's not ignorant to the joy of a Western society. And I truly, and I said this in the very beginning, he was a different dog. He immediately started maneuvering the old guard out. He brought his sister in close. He chose wisely his wife, and he's kept everybody at bay, so that he can maneuver this thing under his terms. So, he's apparently a pretty strategic guy, But, I mean, you're talking 25 million people, and you're talking probably 20 years. So, right. I wouldn't hang my hat on that saving the United States economy, but it's just a reflection positively on President Trump. And so, and just to show the folly of people who are just constantly with no ideas, that just keep rambling on about nonsense. Just a distraction that we can get rid of.
I mean, you're talking the media, and I'm shocked. I mean, after this thing, I'm thinking, here you got a guy saying, yes, I'm giving up my nukes, blow up one building. Mike Pompeo got on a plane and flew straight to South Korea, meeting with President Moon, and tomorrow he's going to go straight to China to meet with President Jinping. I mean, the process is beginning. Inspectors are coming. Help them dismantle. It'll take 2 years to dismantle the thing. Kim Jong-un, he surrendered. I saw a young man surrendering communism to a new Western society. It's going to take time. He's got to change his culture, that kind of thing. There's a lot of people who hate him over what his grandfather and his father did, murdered, butchered, and tortured. So he's got a lot to overcome, but he can do it with help from the big boys. And so I thought to myself, this has got to be a positive thing, right? We're not going to do a nuclear thermal war. I couldn't believe the coverage on MSNBC and CNN and some of the others. I mean, are they the babbling idiots that you're talking about here?
Yeah, and look, they're irrelevant anymore, Paul. Nobody watches those shows. They just, I don't even watch the mainstream news, Paul, because it's really not education. It's really manipulation and propaganda. So, but, look, there's a couple of really interesting tidbits with that. First of all, Japan and Germany were evil, and Italy were evil, and we rebuilt them. Okay, we were evil to Vietnam, and they let us help them rebuild.
Right.
You know, when things happen, people have to move on. I mean, there's some tragedies, like, you know, the Warren Bear family and some other things, and you know, and the Chinese reminded us that 900,000 of their people died in the Korean War, and so there's a lot of hard feelings, but in these situations, that it seems like people just have to move on. And easy for me to say because I don't have a dog in that hunt, but look, you know, that's just the way of the world. The other interesting thing about this is that we've had 3 summits now with North Korea in our past history. The last 2 marked the tops in the stock market, Paul. So in 2000 and 2007. So we don't know if this third time's a charm or if this is going to be another repeat. And the other thing, too, Paul, is stock markets and economies fall and roll over on good news because it's all out there. There's, you know, what people have to understand about the economic system that we run today in the world, it's called the Fiat system, and it's a debt-based Fiat system. So the only way you really get growth beyond productivity is you have to add more debt to the system. Well, that becomes counterproductive over time because debt is a geometric asset, and these other things are more arithmetic. So eventually the debt overwhelms the ability for you to grow through it. And that's why you have these every, you know, 70 years, you have these major collapses. And then for us, this is going to be our 3rd one in 20 years. So it's accelerating, and these are cleansings that have to happen until we change the way the banking systems work, or at least in our country, where they can't fractionalize the debt and basically say take in $10 in deposits and create $80 worth of new debt. At some point, you just overwhelm the assets. And so we're at a point now where I don't know where any more good news is. You know, you brought up the point of we have more job seekers than we have. I mean, more job openings than we have job seekers. But let me remind you that, look, people don't want to pay people. So, you know, if I guarantee you, if every one of those jobs out there paid $100 an hour, they wouldn't be open very long. Right. You know, so you have that. And number 2 is the low unemployment rate. A lot of people have 2 jobs. Yeah. You know, because of the way they structured around Obamacare is that companies cut workers off at, you know, 25 hours a week. Yeah, yeah. And so people have to take 2 jobs, so they get counted twice in the employment roll. And so we have a lot of that going on, and you know, and I don't want to be a negative Nancy here. All I'm saying is that these are a lot of things to push through, and Trump's doing all the right things. The Federal Reserve's doing what they have to do, and at some point, as you know, there's no free lunch. Something's going to have to give, yeah. And I think that's what we're going to see. And I think Trump's saying, look, I'd rather give up something that's of a paper nature. I'd rather have more jobs. And the other thing, too, the more jobs we have, Paul, that pay more money, is that Social Security, they just announced last week that it's going to go bust in 2023. What? Or 2026. Yeah, and next year they have to start selling bonds. So you have the Federal Reserve selling bonds, you have China selling bonds, you have Japan selling bonds, and now you have our own Social Security agency selling bonds. So it's going to become a pretty nasty world, and in terms of this debt is going to become more and more expensive at the worst possible time. So, you know, are you glad you had me on today?
Yeah, just so filled with all this joy that's coming here. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. This is Bob Kudla. He's a financial expert, and seriously, his website, www.tradegeniusacademy.com. That's tradegeniusacademy.com. Now, he will help you. Somebody's got to navigate you through these turbulent times. There's no doubt about it. And it's not that it's all doom and gloom, I think, Bob. I think what you're doing, you're a realist. You're being realistic about what's going on and how do you navigate through it and where should you invest. And so, folks, go to his website at www.tradegeniusacademy.com. Now, one thing, Bob, and your website's being reconstructed So Friday's the last day for some of these great specials. So folks, there it is. Go to the website and get in this thing midnight, Friday night, midnight. Take advantage of these rock bottom low entry levels. And some of you say, I've always wanted to get involved in the stocks, but I don't know how much. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I don't have a lot. I've heard you say that you could start with $500 and maybe follow the program and maybe make $2,000 or $3,000 by the time the year's over. Bob, is that true?
Yeah. I just want to encourage people, what we charge for the service. I just, and I've been pointing out on our videos that we do on YouTube, I've been giving free trades out for people. So I want people to make money. And just the trades I gave out for free in the last 3 days would have paid for your annual subscription with us. But we do have a program that we don't really talk about too much because cryptocurrencies have just been the rage this year. Is that we have a program that is inside of the service that we offer for crypto. So it's essentially free until Friday night. We're splitting it out, called binary options, where they're kind of a special option is like either you win or you lose. But we have had incredible success with this, and because we're math guys and we're probability guys, that we have databases, that tell us, the expected ranges each day, and we're able to set these trades, and then we just send them out directly via text message, Paul, to tell people, hey, this is the trade you take, this is the price you want to pay for it, and then either we tell them to close it out, or at the end of the day, it closes out for you as a winner. And we're 98-5 on that, Paul. This is extraordinarily good. And the reason why we do so well with it is it takes a degree of patience, and it takes a trust in the way the system works. And we do very well, and not get greedy. And so a lot of times people lose in these things because they get greedy. And so, but we don't. We're very mechanical about this, and we just help people make money on it. And just in the last 2 weeks alone, if you just followed the trades that we gave, you would have paid your annual subscription too. So I just want to encourage people, come join us if you want to make money. If you have a small account, just go into the crypto special, either number 1 or number 2. You'll see binary options as part of it. If you don't see that there, inquire to us, because it is part of it. And you'll get that as part of the package for the next 12 months as part of the subscription. And it's just a fun thing to trade. You can do it while you're working. A lot of our customers are working, and they just get the trade. You can get on a mobile app, and you can just make the trade, and you can go back to work. And if there's anything changing, that's what I'm sitting there for. I'm a sentinel. I'm watching. And if I don't like where it's going, or I think, hey, we made enough profit, I text you back out again. You just go in and close the trade. And you just do this, 4 or 5 times a week. And you could build an account from $200 to $2,000, $500 to $5,000. But I tell people that you'll just grind away every week in and week out, and you'll make good money. And it's definitely worth what we charge for the service. So I absolutely encourage you to do that. And people that are worried about the cryptocurrency world and what's going on, don't listen to the news. Is that a lot of this has to do with the dollar right now, and as that settles out, cryptocurrencies, you put it away, and 10 years from now, you'll be thanking me that you got involved in this. And in the meantime, we help people trade in and out of it so that they can just keep getting a better and better price for their cryptocurrencies. And all those prices are changing starting this weekend. And I really want people to take advantage of it, because you'll definitely have really good mentors helping you do this stuff, Paul. And I've been around long enough. You guys know there's people that use the service that are probably listening that can attest to this.
Yeah, we get good feedback from a lot of folks who've joined in with you, Bob. And again, Bob's a Christian. He's a good man. I've had lunch with him. He's been a great partner of our ministry. And the thing is, he's honest, okay? And he's a realist, and that's what you're hearing today. He's just being brutally honest with you. Okay, here's what's going wrong. Don't follow that. Let me tell you what's going to happen. You did mention something, Bob, a minute ago about debt's good. And I was thinking, well, if all the indicators, just today they announced the U.S. deficit is getting bigger. Is that good? I mean, $22 trillion. I mean, do we need to turn it around, or is it okay to coast along? I mean, what's the story here?
Yeah, it's a hard thing. I mean, if just remember, you get rid of debt, you're basically going to kill the economy. So I think what President Trump's trying to do, and ultimately they won't be successful. It won't be successful anywhere in the world. So, don't cut your own throat off on this. What's going to happen, Paul? That's why I talked about the cryptocurrencies. That's why we talk about gold and silver. Is all these monetary units? They all go away. An average currency only lives for 70 to 80 years, Paul, before they radically change it. Okay, so that's what's going to happen here too. So I don't get too hung up on it. I mean, I don't like it, but they have to change the banking system first. If they change the banking system won't allow the politicians to steal from us. And so until that happens, until the system breaks, don't let people get you all hung up about we gotta get rid of the deficit, because I mean, look, at the end of the day, what would happen if tomorrow President Trump said, I'm canceling the debt?
Well, it'd be crazy. It'd be crazy.
I mean, literally, what would happen?
Well,
other than we'll pay Social Security, and we'll pay Medicare that has a trust fund, or we'll pay states. But everybody else, you're gone. I mean, you and I won't be hurt by it. What's China going to do? Not send their cheap goods our way? That's what I'm saying. I think it's really more of an abstract and something to really, really get worried about.
Okay, now you talk about currencies change every 70, 80 years. I mean, Trump has mentioned going back to the gold standard, putting the dollar back on the gold standard. I think Richard Nixon, or I think it was Richard Nixon, also talked about that. I mean, it's been quite a while now that we haven't been on the gold standard. Is that something that would work, or is that a killer?
No, absolutely. Actually, Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Oh,
President Nixon took us down this path that we're on today.
Yes, you're right. I meant it. I said it the wrong way.
No, that's okay. I think that's what you meant to say.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, Paul. They're going to do it in a very clever way. We're going to wake up one day and the price of gold is going to go from, what is it now, around $1,280, and they're going to wake up one day and say the price of gold now is worth $17,200. And they're going to say, because we have 8,000 metric tons of gold in Fort Knox, we reprice the price of gold to that. We'll buy in anybody's gold at that price, and then we're going to go ahead and use that to pay off the national debt. That's what's going to happen.
That is wild.
And that's why you need to always be acquiring gold. And I think when the banking system starts to implode, that's where Bitcoin comes into play. You're able to just step off that speedway while the bridge is collapsing. That's wild. Why I tell people, crypto and gold. Crypto and gold. Anybody who will listen to me.
Bob, I mean, this is really wild, a radical thing you just said, and I understand it. That if you go from monopoly money that we've been operating on, and all of a sudden decide, you know what, let's make all of our cash out here be backed up by gold. You have to take the gold that you have, all the gold you have, and you have to revalue it. You just make a decision. It's like an executive order. All of a sudden, all the gold goes from, like you said, $1,200, $1,300 an ounce to $17,000 an ounce, and gold goes through the roof. And you turn around with that money that you just magically created, and you pay off the debt. You'll have China screaming. You're going to have what happens to these guys out here who all of a sudden are no longer, we're paying almost $1 trillion a year in interest. What happens when we quit paying that money to all these guys? I mean, do they point nukes our way, or what happens?
No, China and Russia and Germany are all acquiring vast sums of gold. Look, there's a reason why we're letting China get all this gold. This has been in the works for 20 years. Now, the 17,000 number I made up, it's just going to be a huge number.
Right, I understand.
So it's going to be the national debt divided by how many metric tons of gold we have, metric ounces we have, and that's going to be the new price of gold.
That's huge.
And so, China's not going to squawk.
Yeah,
because they have a bunch of gold. Russia's not going to squawk. They got a bunch of gold, and they got a bunch of oil. Germany's going to be fine because they have a lot of gold, So
this is going to happen.
The only country I think would be in trouble would be probably Japan, because I don't think they've acquired too much gold, but they have some. So I think that's the path they're going to go down. or they're going to use a cryptocurrency and match it to gold. So, but that's it. The paper money, it becomes confetti. I mean, do you take Venezuelan bolivars? I don't think so. You wouldn't take Argentine pesos, but if they showed up and said, "I got gold for you," yeah, I'll take
How about
that.
dinars? Well, now I got people that contact me all the time. They've got lots of dinars, or dinars, however you say it. The Iraqi money. And they say, Paul, just hang on. One day, some days, can you find out for us? I mean, I can't do anything because I don't have anything like that. But there's people out there with 2 and 3 and 4 and 10 million dinars, and they everyone ever so often are being told that one day it's going to get revalued. That even Jared Kushner has been looking into revaluing that. Is that something that might happen?
Well, if they back it by their oil production, or say that you'll have to take my dinar to get my oil, sure.
Well,
But they just have to. That's a political decision, Paul. And that's when people are talking about China having this oil back, gold back, currency or whatever. Look, if Iraq has the oil and said you have to pay me in Iraqi dinar, not dollars, well, the Iraqi dinar is going to go up in value quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's really more of a political decision. Where they're probably scared to death that Trump will bomb them, that getting out of the banking system. But yeah, there's no reason why that wouldn't happen. And Iraq, people don't realize. I mean, Iraq is a sand pile that has oil throughout the whole country. I mean, they could put a straw in the ground and you have oil.
Yeah. Amazing. So it's real important to have stable governments. So sometimes, folks, when you hear people complaining about America, they all you got to do is travel a little bit to different countries, and it won't take you long at all. This is a great nation, okay? It's a great nation. We got a lot of crybabies in the swamp that really we need it. If there was one thing that we need done, Bob, is term limits. Can I say it again? Term limits. I just can't handle another day, another press conference with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all these other people. It's just getting old. But Bob, again, folks, we're running out of time here. Look, you know what? He's got all the answers. What can I say? Go to his website, www.tradegeniusacademy.com. That's www.tradegeniusacademy.com. You know what? Use the promo code Begley just so he knows that I'm helping him out and getting people go that way. All right, would you do that? And, Bob, the special is on till midnight Friday. Is that right?
That's right. It ends on the 15th at midnight.
Bob, I appreciate it. You know what? We covered all the economic bases for the people who are working at Citibank. If you're in the banking industry, it doesn't matter. If you're working at Citibank and you heard that just 10,000 people are going to be let go within maybe 2 years, where are you going to go? Wells Fargo? Or where are you going to go? So you might want to start looking at diversifying out of the banking industry because it's going to be replaced by AI bots. And, Elon Musk told you this was coming. It's going to be a changing world, won't it, Bob?
Yeah, I tell people I just say, remember the movie Escape from New York? Well, it's going to become real.
Bob, I appreciate you being with us today. It's another great broadcast. And again, as always, I always learn so much when talking to you.
Well, thanks for having me, Paul.
Folks, that's it. That's Bob Kudla at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Go check out his website, and you know what? Let him show you some things, and then maybe you can start to look and see where you want to go in this volatile world that we're in. And keep your eyes on the Lord, because I tell you, He's the one consistent anchor you can count on. God bless all of you. See you next time.